Hello everybody, welcome to Nana's Journey, and today we're going to put the top together and put the borders on, but first I am going to replace this block. This was block 8 and it's just not my style. It's a nice block, but it's just not one I care for. So instead of living with a block that I don't care for in my quilt, I'm going to replace the block. And I'm going to replace it with this. It's a pretty simple block. I've got my center square. This is going to be 4.5 inches. I've got a 6.5 piece of the background and a 6.5 inch of the dark blue with the fern on it. And I've marked my lines. I put the center from corner to corner, both directions, and I marked it. You can just mark from center to center and sew on the 1/4 inch of each side. And then I will end up cutting it into 8 half square triangles. So we're going to do 8 at a time half square triangles. And that will help get, these pieces here, so the 2, 4, 6, and 8. For this unit, I'm going to do a square squared instead of doing 2 flying geese because I don't want that seam in the middle. So I've got my center square, and I have got my triangles that I'm going to put on it. These were, let's see, these were 3 1/4 squares and then cut diagonally. This, I used the rule, you place the ruler over it. This is the square squared ruler by Debbie Tucker. So you place the ruler over it because it's an odd size, and then you're going to add your squares. I've got my green corners, my white corners. These are 2.5 inch squares. And then I've got my white sashing strips. I put these over here. And then this block had the dots, so I'm going to keep the same coloring for the framing so that it's got the right colors. So first thing we'll do, I think, is the squaring the squared units, and then we'll work on the half square units, and then we can put it together. So let's get to the sewing machine. Okay, let's work on this unit. First, make sure you got right sides together. The trickiest part is going to be to remember that when we first put them on, you always put on the opposite sides, and it's going to be one of each instead of, the same ones. So, but I like to put it this way, and then I just eyeball, the evenness of these triangles sticking out. Okay, I'm going to press these open, and I'll be right back. Okay, now we do the same thing. Right sides together. Okay, now when we put it on point, it will look like we've got a flying geese here and a flying geese here, but we don't have that seam in the middle. So let me get these put together and then we'll trim. Okay, before I trim, I'm going to do this 8 half square triangle. I'm just going to sew on these lines and then we'll trim. Okay, I'm just going to cut in between these lines, but first I'm going to cut north and south where there are no marks. Just make sure you got it between here. And I've got a line there I can go to make sure I'm straight. If you can keep from moving these, that's best. Okay, now we have 8 half square triangles. So I'll get them pressed, and then we'll trim those after I do these. So I'm going to put the little crosshairs in the points and then trim. And then it will be perfectly square with a half your 1/4 inch seams where they belong, so that you'll have nice points and a very nice unit. Okay, let me get the rest of that done and I'll be right back. Okay, we have the half square triangles pressed, and we're just going to make sure our 45-degree line goes along this seam there. And cut our squares out. Okay, so this is how our block is going to go. Whoops. Okay, and that gives us a sawtooth star. And I've lost my pieces. Right sides up. Is that one? Okay. And then the green will go the outer corner. And this one will go here. These go pointing towards the center. Okay, there we go. Okay, and there's our block. Now I just have to sew these together like that, cross, press them open. Then I'll flip them over, sew, press them open, and I'll do all these units. And then I'll take the units and sew them together, and then sew the rows and rows together. So let me get that all put together, and I'll be right back. Okay, the block is finished except for the sashing. So I'm going to go ahead and put the sashing on offline. You just attach it to the side, and then you got a short one and a long one because it's got to go across. That's the long one. So you just put right sides together, sew it, press it open and on both sides, and then you'll take the longer one and sew it and then press it. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, the new block 8 is all finished. Now we just need to put the rows together. So let me get those all out and I will be right back. Okay, I've got row 2 laid out. Unfortunately, I'm not able to show you the whole row because I don't have that kind of room. So I'm going to take the log cabin, and you want to make sure I have row 1 out here too. So the dark sashing is going to go like this. The dark corners are going to meet together when you do the log cabin setting squares. So we've got block 2, 3, 4, and another log cabin. And this also meets. So since it's too hard to show you the rows because I don't have the room, I'm just going to go ahead and put the top together, and then we'll get to work on the borders. Okay, the top is all finished, and I'm sorry I don't have the space to show you guys the whole thing because this is a big quilt. But here's the first half. The first row is up towards the head of the bed. And here is the second half. Now, as far as the pattern's concerned, this quilt top is finished. But of course, we're going to add some borders so that I have a little bit of overhang on each side and some on the bottom. So now we need to get to the borders. Okay, this is the plan for the borders. I'm just going to put this up at the top because this is where the pillows are, so I'm not going to do anything fancy there. And then I'm going to put the borders, just some strips around, and I'm going to make 2 sawtooth stars for the corner. And I took the coloring from the log cabins, the green, the dark blue, and the medium blue. So I've got the green, the dark blue, and the medium blue. And then this is what was supposed to be the backing, but because my quilt is bigger, there's not enough backing. So I've got some backing ordered, and it should be coming soon. So what I will do is I'm just going to put right sides together, sew this down, then press it open, and then that border will be done. And that is how I will do all these borders. But let's get started on these sawtooth stars. Okay, I've got my pieces cut out. I've got 4 2.5-inch squares for these. 1 2.5-inch square for the middle. I've got 3.5-inch squares. I've got 2 in the dark blue, 1 in the light blue, and 1 in the print, the center print. And that is going to be for these quarter square triangle units. So I just need to cut these into quarter square triangles. And it's better if they don't move. Okay, now one will be for the bottom, the top, and that is the unit we will be making. So let's get to the sewing machine. Okay, what we're going to do is just put right sides together and sew down the seam. Now we're going to press them open. Okay, we've got them both pressed open towards the dark blue. Nest the seams. And we have our quarter square triangle. Then we just have to press and trim. Let me get these others sewn up and then I'll be back. Okay, now that we have our units pressed, we need to trim them. And you just make sure the line, 45-degree line on your ruler goes through the seam, and then you've got your 2.5-inch marks. Oops, there we go. Okay, now we can start putting our unit together. Okay, I'm making 2 blocks, so 2 of these will go here. Towards the middle. This is our center square. Right side up. And then, just as usual, we turn, press, open, sew, open and press, do that to each row, and then put the rows together in the same method. Okay, let me put that together and I'll be right back. The quilt is all finished. It's got its borders on and the sawtooth star. It hangs down on all 3 sides. Now I just need to get it quilted. I've got to wait for my daughter to come to town so that she can help me sandwich it, because this is big, so it'll be hard to sandwich. And then I've got to figure out my quilting designs and get it quilted, and I don't know how long that is all going to take. But hopefully we can get something done in the meantime. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time on Nana's Journey.